has to his credit conducting the first ever course for ICAI on forensic accounting.
45 minutes to 1 hour. But I'm particularly, sympathetic for Ms. Priya Bansali because she doesn't have the option of snoring or sleeping also because she's right in front with the light completely on her. So you'll have to go through 45 minutes and keep smiling. So thank you very much. But don't worry, I am aware that we are into an afternoon session, so I am going to temper this talk accordingly. So may I start, please? Now, I request you to allow me, and with your permission, ma'am, can I be the CEO of this session? Okay, so all of you know the meaning of CEO, right? Ma'am, what is the meaning of CEO? No, this is Chief Entertainment Officer. So I'm going to try and make sure that you people are entertained. Whether you learn anything about forensics, I can't say, but definitely I'll try and keep you entertained. Okay, we are going to see some film, we are going to talk about some case studies and something different because I believe you are far too senior to really be able to have a kind of a classroom where you talk, okay, this is forensic, this is what happens. No, I think you people are far too senior and all that we need to do is just discuss my experiences and see if you like them. So we start this and what we will do is we'll need to give a central theme. Now, one of the things that I feel we should be doing is we should now think differently. Today morning, for those of you who remember what P.R. Ramesh said, now the Caro report has changed phenomenally. And one of the topics is something which is very relevant to this session of mine, that is on fraud. I think it is 3.11, paragraph 11, where he said that fraud is now something that an auditor will have to be really worried about. And in that, the whistleblower complaints also. So friends, now life has changed. Whether we are doing audit or whether we are doing forensics, the line of demarcation has become thinner and thinner, and the responsibilities. Today, if you look at NFRA, or if you take any other statutory body, the scanner on auditors is extremely high. So I think the time has come where fraud or detection of fraud is more or less becoming an integral part of our day-to-day auditing process. So in this context, I'm going to take this session, okay? So in this, I'm going to first start with a very small film, about 12 minutes film, on what is the difference between a forensic audit and an audit. So with your permission, can I show you a small film so it becomes easier for us to understand? So can I request the organizers to put on the film, please? Can you put on the video? And if you can remove these lights, it will be better. Can you have the audio? Hello, this is Chetan Dalal, and in this episode, I wish to explain, with the help of a case study, the difference between a forensic audit and a conventional audit. I'm sure many of you are aware what exactly a conventional auditor does. A conventional auditor usually relies on documentary evidence, and which is rightly so. But a forensic auditor has a vision which is something beyond what eyes can see. It is something far more comprehensive, which doesn't mean to say that the conventional auditor is not doing the right job, but a forensic auditor has got a much larger domain. And let me explain that to you with the help of a lovely billiard shot. What you see now on the screen is a billiards table with 3 balls on the table. Now, whenever we ask people as to what is the player trying to do, somebody will say the player is trying to pocket the red ball, somebody will say the player is trying to pocket the white ball, somebody may even go to the extent of saying that he's trying to pocket the white and the red ball. But that's about it. More than 90% of the people will stop at that. But have a look at the shot now. When you saw the shot, weren't you surprised
that he was able to pocket all the 3 balls. So that is the difference between the vision of a conventional auditor who will probably stop at 1 or 2 balls, and that of a forensic auditor who will go all across, take a 360-degree view and give a comprehensive picture, and which is required because a forensic audit is required by a court of law. That's the word forensic in the true sense of the word. Now let me illustrate this with an imaginary case study, but it is very authentic and very relevant to the subject that we are talking about. Consider the situation. What you see now on the screen is a person who is slumped, who has actually died. He's slumped on the desk. He was a bank manager. And if you see on one side of the table, there is a coffee cup with some steaming hot coffee, which is coming out of the cup. And just below the desk is a printer. And if you see the way his hand has been placed on the table, under his hand there is a paper which had a printed note stating that he had committed suicide because he had embezzled a large amount of money from the bank, and he had thought initially that he would be able to replenish that money. Unfortunately, he came to a conclusion that he could not, and therefore he stated in his letter that he decided to commit suicide by drinking the poisoned coffee. Now, friends, let us consider this, that this assignment of investigation was given to a conventional auditor. And let us also consider this as if this assignment was given to a forensic auditor. Let's see the finer differences between the two. As I said before, a conventional auditor will always depend and rely on what we call documentary evidence. So he'll get a certificate from a doctor to confirm that the man has died and that the cause of death was poison, which he will get. It's a written certificate. It's a piece of evidence, documentary evidence for him. Then he will go and get a certificate from a laboratory to confirm that that poison was indeed present in that coffee. Third, he will confirm with a technical expert on IT that the suicide note was printed on the printer which was placed below the desk. And fourth, he will send that piece of paper to a fingerprint expert, again a forensic expert of some kind, to confirm which fingerprints were there. Now, all these pieces of evidence will be collected by him. Let's presume that the doctor confirms that this man died because of coffee, poison. Let's also confirm that this poison was there indeed in that coffee as certified by the laboratory. Let us confirm that the IT expert also confirmed that the paper was printed from that printer, and let us confirm that the fingerprints, as you now see on the screen, these were the fingerprints which belonged to the man who died, and there were no other fingerprints either on the front or the back from anybody else. So every piece of evidence that you see now that has been presented belongs to the theory that this person committed suicide. So an auditor would not be wrong if he said and came to a conclusion that this was a case of suicide. Now friends, so far so good. But let's take the case of a forensic auditor. As I said, his vision goes beyond what eyes can actually see. So he applies not only the documentary evidence, which is of course required. A forensic auditor also relies on documentary evidence, but he goes a point beyond. He examines the reliability of that documentary evidence. In a very clear-cut thinking, logical application of mind, he came to a conclusion that this was not suicide. At the very least, it was abetment of suicide with somebody else or murder. And how did he come to know? Friends, just apply this piece of logic. Let's presume that this is the printer, and I want to pick up a piece of paper from the printer. Can I pick it up without a single finger touching the backside of the paper? Impossible. Once again, have a look at the fingerprints that you saw on that piece of paper as certified by the fingerprint expert. They were only on the front side, no other fingerprint in the front nor at the back, which meant that this piece of paper couldn't have been picked up by the bank manager. Somebody else may have picked up, somebody else who had gloves on his hand and that person placed the paper underneath his hand so that his fingerprints would come in the manner that was seen and examined by the forensic expert, and therefore this case was deemed and concluded to be a suicide. So friends, this forensic auditor applied his mind, his logic, to the evidence, to the documentary information given by all experts. That became what we call a forensic analysis or a forensic audit. So as you saw in this case study, just by the simple act of picking up a piece of paper from a printer, a forensic auditor applied a different kind of a vision, a three-dimensional vision, if you can say so, which makes that little difference between a forensic auditor and a conventional auditor. Both are good in their own places, but because a forensic audit requires the evaluation by a jury, by a court of law, the degree of sophistication, the degree of reach is much greater, and that, my friends, is the difference between forensic audit and a conventional audit.
You can change that. Okay, so friends, I hope the movie was able to clarify the message. The simple message is that both forensic audit and a normal audit, they both rely on documentary evidence. There is no escape from that. But normally, a good auditor also will stop at accepting documentary evidence for the purpose of his opinion or attestation, whatever he may be doing. But a forensic auditor, because he has to actually appear before a court, before a judge, he has to also examine the robustness or the reliability of the evidence that has been given. Like, I'll give you another simple example, that a bank certificate, let's say a bank balance confirmation. Every auditor will call for a bank balance certificate at the end of the year for balance. Now, whether that balance certificate, once he's been given that certificate, he will accept it. But a forensic auditor will also check whether the logo is correct, whether the address is correct, whether the signature seems to be reasonable, genuine, from all angles, to see whether that certificate, that balance certificate, is reliable. That, my friends, is the kind of difference between what we call a forensic audit or a forensic investigation or a forensic accounting case. All three words are more or less synonymous. But this is the difference. And the unfortunate part is, in the times to come, an auditor will have to become more and more of a bloodhound. There used to be that famous case of Kingston Cotton Mills where they said that an auditor is a watchdog and not a bloodhound. I am beginning, or I'm rapidly coming to the conclusion that now things have changed a lot. But be that as it may, if you do some of the things that I'm going to talk about in these next few minutes, maybe you will be able to phenomenally upgrade your auditing skill sets also. So let me go on to the next slide. What happened? Why is this coming again? No, you go to the next slide. Go to the PPT. Okay, sorry. So in today's session, what I want to do is to talk about three different things. I wanted to first show you the world of fraud. Okay, what is happening? What are the simple commonplace documents that you come across in our day-to-day lives? But unfortunately, we tend to take them at face value, and exactly what I talked about in the film, that we do not examine the reliability of any documentary evidence that we have. So I'll just show you a few cases. If we have time, we'll also talk of some red flags and green flags. And otherwise, I want to talk about two new things. One is digital tools, that is using certain digital tools which can phenomenally increase your capabilities. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide. One thing is, friends, I'm sure all of you see films and Bollywood films and maybe South Indian films. There is always a little disclaimer, no? That no evidence, no name, entity, etc. that is shown over here relates to somebody actually. Any resemblance is purely coincidental. So that thing is applicable here also. And two more disclaimers are there, that cigarette smoking is harmful to health. So I'm also saying that don't do that. And third disclaimer is that no animals were harmed while making this presentation, but I cannot guarantee that all of you will be okay after these 45 minutes. So that is a care that you will have to take yourself in that. Okay. So now I'll just quickly show some of the documents that you will come through in this, which you may see in this. See, this is a will. Now it's a very simple case of a will, but maybe sometime, if maybe in future I come again, I'll tell you 10 different things which were wrong or which are wrong in this will, which make this will completely false and fabricated. It may look authentic, but it is not. Like say, for example, 29 February 1958, if you can read that, everybody knows that 29 February was not there in 1958, but these are some of the small little things that we as forensic auditors have to learn to recognize. And this comes with practice and a little attention for detail. This is what, unfortunately, current breed of auditors, and I'm including myself also, we are not used to doing. But once we start getting used to doing, it will be very good, in the sense that you have to develop what we call a suspicious eye. That means you have to look at everything suspiciously. So after my session, if you really have learned forensics, you will be extremely good because you will be suspicious, but you may not be a good spouse because you will be suspicious of everything that your spouse does. So that is the risk that you people are running, but still, you want to decide whether you want to be a good spouse or a good forensic accountant at the end of this session, okay? Then this is another thing, this is a balance confirmation. Now this certificate is also a false certificate. Now, maybe I'll just leave you to it, and maybe during tea time, if somebody can tell me what was wrong in it, I'll be happy. It's an idea to see whether you people can also find something that is wrong. Then this was a receipt. Now here, this receipt of 12,60,000, this was in those days when cash was paid for demurrage and big amounts in that. This receipt is also false. And you know that one little giveaway that is there in that? If you see, there is a small space between 12 and 60. Can you see the top figure of 12 and 60? There is a small space. So that space is an unnatural space, and it possibly means that that 12 was added later, which is confirmed by the fact that the same number is repeated at the bottom twice. Like if you see here, it's repeated here and here, and here, 12 starts first line. Now, friends, when you see that line, normally one starts writing after the line, not before the line. So it is very clear that this 12 was written as an afterthought. And even if you see the words, the word 12 has been written later because originally the word started with 60,195 and then they added 12 lakhs on top above the printed material. So when you look at all this, and then this was confirmed with the railway authorities, and it was found that this particular receipt was fake and an extra amount was withdrawn on this. Now friends, this happens when you start examining the reliability of documents. I will not fault an auditor if he accepts this as correct, because conventionally, traditionally, customarily, for us, we are not supposed to be forensic experts or fingerprint experts or specimen signature experts. By the very nature of our job, we are supposed to be watchdogs. So we get something, we accept it in good faith. But now, unfortunately, the whole scenario in the world is changing. Now, these kind of things, if you can inculcate in your audit plan, it will become really very good. Then this is the case where I cannot take in detail just now, but this also, though it is an Excel sheet, it has given wrong totals. It has given negative figures into positive and whatnot. Now, this is something which you probably do not know. Today's world, even in an Excel sheet, which is a computerized sheet, you may see a number, but what you see is not exactly what the Excel sheet is computing. These are known as Excel display frauds. So this is also happening in today's world. Now, these are the things that we have to keep pace with and we have to keep living with. This is another case, similar case. There is something that is wrong. Now, if you just were to see, here the prize has been given to Sonu Kapoor for getting the best marks. But if you really look at the average, his average is the least. Now, this is done by a fraud, which is called steganography. That means you see something on an Excel sheet, but the Excel sheet is computing something quite different. Now, probably because you have been good auditors, you've been people who have been doing the things the right way, you do not know that the world is doing these kind of things as well, and these kind of frauds do exist, friends. This is a check, of course, not so relevant in current times with all these new NEFTs and RTGS. But this was another case where a check was drawn like this and a huge amount was embezzled. So let me not go and not waste time on this. This is that what we call steganography. Now in this steganography, what happens is that you can actually hide inside a picture some data, an Excel sheet. In fact, not only an Excel sheet, you can hide a full film, you can hide an audio file, you can hide virtually anything. So if I were to send, let's say, Ms. Priya, one email with a picture of that Lakshmi in that, to the world it may appear that I am sending a Lakshmi picture, but if Priya is with me in this fraud, she can open that Lakshmi picture and take out some data from there. So smuggling of information, information theft and all is possible with a tool called steganography, which is freely, friends, I'm telling you, freely available on the internet today. Now, all these different exhibits which I showed you, it was like bringing you a window to the world of all wrongdoing. All these documents that you saw, tell me honestly, friends, very honestly, had you noticed them or had you been given these as submissions in your day-to-day work, 9 out of 10 times you would have accepted them as quite innocent looking and genuine, no? Because we have done that. I'll honestly admit that it's not that I have found out all these frauds. I found them later. But remember one thing, friends, that people who are in the world of crime, particularly white-collar crime, particularly financial crimes, their intellectual capability is far, far, far greater than most other criminals. And probably, I would say, it's greater than probably our capabilities also, because they are close to the system, they know what are the breaches that are possible, and they have the intellectual capability to deal with. That is why I'm really sad to say, that particularly when I heard Mr. Ramesh's talk today morning, with the increasing responsibilities that is being given to auditors, including to the point of becoming soothsayers, what will happen in the foreseeable future, life is now not going to be easy. And I don't want to be a pessimist, but I'm saying that you have to gear yourselves up, maybe do some courses on forensics, on something like this to help you to become even better. You may be good auditors, and I firmly respect that, but to become better is what life is all about. Now, there is one case, if any of you is interested in this, maybe you can go on my website, there is a Chetan Dalal on YouTube. There is another film. I can't show it here because it will take another 15 minutes or so. But if you see this film, there is something very funny. You know, this is a case. What you see here is a ledger account. I'll just give you the beginning of that particular thing to give you an idea of what kind of fraud was there. There was a college in Mumbai, and that college was a well-known, reputed college with large number of students, maybe 3,000 students and so on. And that college was being audited by a good auditor, and I'm using the word good auditor because I have respect for him. And he had been auditing that college for maybe last 20 years or so. And what is the normal college's profit and loss account like? As you would say, on the credit side would be fees from students, donations, grants, sports grants, and so on. These are the kind of incomes that a college will have. And what are the kind of expenses you'll have? You can have maybe teachers' remuneration, electricity, rent, administrative expenses, and other normal expenses. This is the general balance sheet or a profit and loss account of a college. But I'm sure all of you know, because when you go to college, a college asks for the admission fee and all the other fees, but it also asks you for deposits. Am I right? Things like a caution money deposit, library deposit, and so on, when you enter college. Now, when do you get it back, friends? Can you tell me? You get it back after you graduate or you are going to leave the college. So usually there is a time gap of 3 to 4 years after which you can collect that money. And friends, I'm telling you, most of you here as well, most people forget to collect that money. So that money lies in the coffers of the college. Now, is it the college's money? No. Is it a payable amount? Yes, it is a deposit account. But it is lying unpaid for years together. So what happened was, in this particular college, the evil eyes of one cashier and maybe 1 or 2 other people fell on this money, and they started doing something. And you know how this fraud came to light? I'm not going through the entire fraud, but I'm just telling you that old auditor died. 1 year in 2012, he died. And a new auditor was appointed. And sometimes, friends, today we are talking about rotation and all that. I firmly believe, and this is a typical case study which shows that, okay, when you bring in a new person, a fresh wave of thinking comes in. The new auditor found something very unusual. You know what he found? He found that all the ledger account entries, day-wise, chronologically during the year, refunds were being collected by students in an alphabetical order. Tell me, is that possible? 4 years later, after a person has paid, is he going to wait till the previous person is one alphabet before him and is the next one going to claim it after that? No. The new auditor found this strange that by and large, all refunds were being given in an alphabetical order. So he applied his mind and then he made inquiries with one or two of these people, and then the cat was out of the bag. The person whom he called, he said that he didn't even know that he had a deposit which he had to collect, and he confirmed that he hadn't done it. Then an investigation was launched and it was found that the cashier, who was unrotated for almost 20-25 years, realized that these monies which were payable to third parties in cash, nobody was bothering because the college authorities were not concerned about repayments of deposits. Auditors were taking it easy because it is not the revenue of the college. It was just a contra entry. Money which was received earlier is being paid back. Huge amounts were being defalcated by giving fictitious receipts, fictitious documents, fictitious application forms. And what gave away the cashier was his stupidity. Now, where would he get the names of students from? The easiest place for him was to get it from the roll call. Would you agree with that? And in what order is the roll call? Usually in alphabetical order. So this ledger account, if you like this particular case, and there's more to it than this, do go to that particular YouTube channel of Chetan Dalal. The full movie is there. You'll be able to see how different kinds of frauds were done. So again, my intention is that you have to open your eyes. Your vision has to be changed. As I showed in that billiard shot, we as good auditors, when we are pocketing those three of that balls, normally you'll say, okay, you can pocket one ball or two balls, but seldom will you think that all three balls can be actually pocketed. And that 360-degree view is a view of a good forensic auditor. Now, this is just an example. When you see that these people were coming for refunds, first person was Andy, then Beenal, then Kathy, then Danny, then Elon, then Freda and Gary. Now, can you imagine anybody coming for refunds? Certainly not. So this is what we need to develop, that ability, perceptive skills to see where something is going wrong. Now, let me take up some red flags. How much time do I have? Can somebody tell me?
We have another 15 minutes to go. 15 minutes to go, sir.
So should I leave that for questions or should I show some more things?
We can continue with the session, sir.
Okay. So one of the ways that I think I can help you is to say that if you are able to get into this practice of spotting fraud symptoms or symptoms of things that are going wrong, that is what we call the hunt for red flags. Now, red flags, everybody knows what they are. That means that there is something wrong. In that CID, that fellow used to say, no, daya, kuch to hai. That is nothing but red flags, So we have to look for what we call red flags when we do our auditing or when we are doing some forensics. But I have also coined a new term which is called green flags. Let me explain both. Sorry, I think that slide has been missed out, but doesn't matter. See, what are the red flags that you have? Can anybody tell me? One example I can give you is, let's say, there is a shortage of stock. Would you call that a red flag? Yes. When you say that, okay, a person, the chief purchase manager, he has gone on a Swiss holiday with the largest vendor of the company, would you call that a red flag? Yes, it means that there is the conflict of interest because you're going together like that. That way, there are many symptoms where you feel that something is not right. That is what we call the red flag. But then, what is a green flag? Green flag is also a danger signal, but the subtle difference between a red and a green flag is that a red flag will make you aware and you know something is wrong. A green flag will make you feel very comfortable and very nice. I'll give you one example. Once I had gone to a party And it was a very close friend of mine who had a big business. So he said, Mr. Dalal, you are a known fraud investigator. So I must tell you that, I've seen a lot of bad people, but my cashier is the best cashier that we ever have. I have a nice supermarket on the highway, and he looks after it. He's been doing that cashier's job for 20 years. And in 20 years, Mr. Dalal, he has never shown a cash shortage. He has shown some cash excesses, but he has never shown a cash shortage. How does this strike to you people? Do you feel that that person is really honest? Can errors be made in a single direction? No. Friends, these are what we call green flags. There are times when you feel very comforted. You feel that, okay, things are moving very well, but actually it is not so. It's the too good to be true syndrome. There was one hotel in a very far off place, somewhere very close to Jammu, Kashmir and all that, which was infested with terrorists and very difficult times to get customers. That hotel was going into losses for years together, and the management decided to close down the hotel. But then, because some closing formalities had to be done, they appointed some stopgap manager who was virtually, you can say, taken from the road. No idea, nothing, but they had to keep the hotel on for something. And friends, you'll be shocked that what the best Harvard School people whom they consulted couldn't do to turn the hotel around, this person turned the hotel in three months. It started showing profits and cash was there in the coffers. What do you think? Do you think that this is a very good thing, or is it a green flag? Yes, friends, it is a green flag. Again, we don't have the time to go into it, but I'm just trying to explain the concept of red and green flags. Now, this is something which you may not have thought of till now, but when you start thinking, when you do, the idea is that you have to open up your minds, and that opening up of the minds is the real intention of this session. I can show you any 10 different cases with different things. Those different things are not important. But our ability to now see things differently, if you do that, my objective is achieved. Now, I want to talk about two things which will help you phenomenally in your whatever profession, whether you are doing an audit, whether you are even doing taxation, whether you are doing consultancy, mergers, this, that, whatever. Two things are very important for you not to stagnate. One is you should do constant research. And the other thing is to try and see if there are new tools or new methods or techniques which are available. If you do both these, your ability to give a penetrative approach to your audit will increase. And let me see if I have got some examples in this. Now, in this, I'll give you a simple case. Supposing you are asked by a bank, let's say in a bank, and they say that you have to do a KYC audit. Like, today's day with PMLA and all this, the bank is very concerned about KYC. Is that right? Every bank is concerned. Now suppose, and of course KYC is not only restricted to banks, even in insurance companies, even in stockbroking companies, it is there across the world in different businesses. Now, if I were to ask you friends, how will you audit KYC documents? It's not very difficult because see, documents like name, address, proof of address, you have things like passport, driving license, and you have maybe Excel sheets to check duplicate names. So there are a lot of ways which you are very familiar, you must be doing. And I grant you full credit for that. But one of the basic and fundamental things in KYCs is the picture. Suppose I, Chetan Dalal, have gone and opened one bank in Axis Bank, one account, as Chetan Dalal with my picture. But I'm also into money laundering, and I have gone and opened an account in, let's say, ICICI Bank as, say, Mr. Ramesh Dalal. I can give fake documents, this, that, everything to both the banks, but can I give a fake photograph? No. So one of the important things that any KYC auditor needs to do is to find out whether there is a way to find out how you can verify or at least examine picture or visual evidence. And friends, I did some research. That is where I said research and new tools are very important. We found that there was one application available on the net. In fact, all of you can download. There is a very small payment of some 2,000-3,000 rupees. And there are plenty of such applications available which actually check duplications of pictures. So I'll show you one screenshot of one particular thing. Like this is a program, those of you who want can note it down. It's called Visual Similarity Duplicate Image Finder, okay? This is the name of that application which I have downloaded from the internet. I think I paid something like 2,000, 3,000, some very small amount, and this was some 2, 3 years ago. Now this is, once you install it, this is the kind of screen that you will get. Now what does this do? Friends, it's very simple. You don't have to be some great experts in visual similarity detectives. All that it will ask you is, please, you have to identify which folder. Now if you look at the previous slide, let's say this was in a particular folder called pic. So I have to only inform this particular browser that I have that this pic is the folder where you are supposed to check the photographs. Then what it does is, you see right at the bottom, there is a green arrow at the bottom. You have to just click that. When you click that green arrow, which is called Start Scan, in a matter of seconds, I had about 70 photographs in that. It was able to throw up which were the duplicates. Like say, for example, now I found 3 different photographs who have registered in 3 different names. But in 70 photographs, in a matter of 5 to 10 seconds, you are able to find out that this is the same person under 3 different names. And this program is so strong that even if the resemblance is 60% up to, as you can see somewhere here, even up to 60% similarity, it will still show you. So that means, say, for example, my photograph is taken today. And let's say when I come in 2011, one photograph is taken in 2011, it will find out that there is more than 60% resemblance, it will throw up that. Now, friends, by using this, you can do this across 5,000 photographs of saving banks account, of various other accounts, and you will be able to find out, particularly for money laundering, if some person has used the same photograph for different names. Of course, I do grant that sometimes 2 people may look alike, but then that is what audit is about. I mean, you have to perform the audit to find out whether it is a genuine case or not. So friends, this is again, this particular application is not important. What is important is your ability to think, okay, is there something like this available? Is there research available? Is there some tool available? Can I upgrade my audit skills? Friends, if you do that, that is what forensics actually teaches you. Bring it within your skill sets that you use in your day-to-day audit, and I promise you, friends, your audit capabilities will phenomenally increase. Now let's take another. Do I have time for one more case study? Can I take one? Okay, so I want to show you another case, okay? Now, one of the things which is very common across organizations is a lot of travel expenditure, right? So when travel expenditure is basically vouched or examined by auditors, one of the basic documents that is placed reliance on is something like a boarding pass. Would you agree that boarding pass is the main evidence of travel? Now, this was a company where this person, I mean, this is an assumed name, of course, Mitesh Thambi, had been giving these kind of boarding passes and claiming a lot of expense. So somewhere we felt, okay, can we actually vouch boarding passes? Well, we realized that most of it has data which is normal data, like you have the name which is Thambi, the flight number, the date on which he traveled, the boarding time, the gate number, and so on. But this doesn't give you any great flavor or information which is useful to you. So then we had a look at the barcode. Can you see a barcode in that? Now, we did some research. Again, all that you have to do is keep doing research. And we found that there was an application available on the internet which you can download even on your cell phones, which you can do. Now that will examine a barcode, something like this. So this is the kind of QR code scanner. Now this is a pro version which I downloaded on this. Now once you install this and then you scan the thing, you will get some kind of an icon like that on your cell phone, and you will be able to then scan this particular boarding pass. And then this boarding pass will give you the exact details of who had traveled. So in this particular case, the person who had traveled was Mr. Bhatki Mahesh. That name is different from Thambi Mitesh. So this difference we are able to find by using something like a barcode scanner. Now again, it is very plain common sense that, I mean, if we had started this earlier, we could have done this earlier. Like that, there are an umpteen number of different tools and applications and different kinds of things that are available in today's world. All that we need to do is we need to extricate ourselves from the dullness that sometimes prevails upon us. We tend to go by last year's audit plan. We tend to go by, okay, what do you do in audit? Yeah, I'm also doing this in audit. So we go by that. Don't go by that. Give originality. Be creative in nature. And whatever you do, your clients will also be happy with you. So this research and tools are extremely important. I think I'm almost through, right? So I'll just end my presentation with a small thing which you may not know, is that, in our olden days, people have a feeling that people maybe 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years ago, they didn't have the technology. They were like cavemen. They didn't know how to make clothes. They didn't know how to even chisel something. There was no light. There was no electricity. But friends, we are all wrong. We in India were so advanced, so advanced in maybe 4,000, 5,000 years ago that we cannot imagine. I've come across one video, if you want to see it, it's there. It shows that there is one mantra on God, Lord Krishna, where there is a certain code which are Vedic scriptures say, like Ka is 1, Kha is 2, and so on. So for all the different alphabets, there is a number that is given. And when you apply that number, friends, listen to this. When you apply that number to each alphabet of that slok, you get the value of pi. You know what is pi, no? 22 upon 7. What is the circumference of a circle? 2 pi r. So the value of 22.7 up to 32 decimal places was calculated and was put in a sloka here. Now this was India for you, friends. I'm sure that this is the note where there's something else I want to say. Why were we so good? Is it that we were scientists or better scientists? I would say that we were as good scientists as probably across the world everywhere else. But the difference is our scientists were also spiritual saints. They combined religion and science. That is why if you see in any temple, any old temple in India, you will find a wealth of information. I am saying all this merely to tell you that in your endeavors, whatever you do in your foreseeable future, one of the very important things, friends, is to be a good human being. You cleanse your mind of all the negative thoughts. Try to think good thoughts only. Not only will you be very good in the work that you do, your health will also improve, and you will become a very nice, colorful person that everybody will like. And I can assure you that your auditing, taxation, whatever skills that you have, they will exponentially increase. In fact, I think Swami Vivekananda said that harbor good thoughts, because good thoughts turn into good words turn into good actions turn into good deeds become good habits become good character, and good character frames your destiny. So with a big thank you to all of you. I'm grateful to you for having given me this opportunity. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I think the hall full attendance speaks it all. A power-packed technical session which did not allow anyone to forget sleeping, not even to wink their eyes. Leave alone forensic audit. Today, I think every audit, given the regulatory expectations, faceless assessments, and risks, I think we'll have to wear a forensic audit lens in each and every audit we do. A post-lunch session couldn't have been better. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Any questions? I'm here.
So can we request the questions to be offline? I think we are already running out of
Okay.
time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I now request CA Priya Bansali, past Central Council member, to kindly present a memento to the Speaker, CA Chetan Dalal. Gopinath, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause, please.
I request CA KP Gopinath, past chairman of the Coimbatore branch, to present a small memento to CA Priya Bansali, past Central Council member, ICAI. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. We now move